WCLN 1170 Radio and Cable Channel 16 are pleased to present We Should Know, hosted by J.W. Simmons, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative as we consider closely what we should know.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It is Tuesday again. Each and every week, We Should Know is on the air, 2:30 p.m. Star Communications, Channel 16, WCLN Radio. We're coming to you simulcast on both of those dynamic frequencies, and also we are reprinted in the Sampson Weekly newspaper. Summations in the weekly newspaper. Also, there's a replay at 7 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. On Star Communications Channel 16. We're fortunate to have a couple of folks with us today to talk about a subject near and dear to everybody's heart, and that is education. We have Emily Hadley with us. Emily, Duke grad. It's interesting that I noted that not only you graduated from Duke, but you with a specialty degrees in statistical science and public policy studies. And Jessica Alvarez. Jessica, thank you for being here. Also, you have a background in creative writing. You're assistant director at the Drama Club. You graduated from Duke in 2015, a degree in history. Texas you hail from, New Hampshire you hail from. Emily, again, thank you for being here. We want to talk about education in a big picture, but first of all, I want to give you an opportunity to explain to us what the Duke College Advising Corps is and what that has done for this county, because there's some folks, you got some partners out there, there's 4 in the county, and we'll go ahead and give a shout out to Dr. Eric Bracey and his efforts as superintendent of the schools, and our wonderful folks that have actually attempted and got elected to being on our school board here. I always admire people who step up and volunteer their time. So tell us what the Duke College Advising Corps is from both of your perspectives, because each of you may have a different perspective.
Okay. You could go first.
All right, I'll start. So the Duke College Advising Corps is a part of the National College Advising Corps. And the National College Advising Corps is a nonprofit that was founded over 10 years ago in Virginia. And it saw a need in Virginia public schools at the time for more guidance counselors who specifically focused on college. I believe the current statistic is that there's one guidance counselor for every 350 college students, and that, high school students. And so on average, a high school student can only talk about college with a guidance counselor for 20 minutes in their senior year. And really the idea was just to bring in recent college graduates who could talk to students about the college application process in a full-time position. And so we are full-time employees who work in high schools. Our main goal is to just talk with students about college. We seek to open up college access for students from all backgrounds. And we also go with a near-peer model, with the idea being that not only are we close in age to the students we serve, but we also are generally matched based on our socioeconomic status or our ethnic or racial background or our location that we grew up in, with the idea that we are peers who can relate to what our students are going through now. We don't necessarily come in as experts. We're not intending to recruit students for our school. So you mentioned we're from the Duke College Advising Corps, which means that we are Duke graduates, and we are also trained by Duke to do the jobs that we do now. But we don't recruit students for Duke specifically. We really seek to help students that we serve find the appropriate match and fit for them at colleges across the country. Duke College Advising Corps is in its second year. We currently have 16 advisors. There are 3 other universities in the state that also have college advising corps. That would be UNC Chapel Hill has a corps, Davidson has a corps, and NC State has a corps. And at this point, I believe we serve in over half of the counties in the state. We go all the way from the Appalachian Mountains to Dare County and some of the Outer Banks regions. And then Duke College Advising Corps, like you mentioned, has 4 advisors placed in Sampson County. Jessica's at Union, I'm at Hobden High School, and then we have Sarah Hass over at Midway High School and Drew Underwood at Lakewood High School. Okay.
Sarah's the other one that I've met, and Jessica, let me turn to you and ask you the question. How did you guys end up, and how did Sampson County end up being fortunate enough to have all 4 of you in Sampson County? Was that due to the efforts of somebody in the county? Was there a random pick, or how did we end up having folks to be able to help our kids get to college?
I think it happened around last year where our program director, Girja Mahajanan, she was in talks with Colonel Macon and to bring this program into Sampson County because they saw a huge need. Because in Sampson County, typically we have a huge influx of immigrants in the last relatively past few years, and a lot of them are from like a Hispanic background. Mm-hmm. And so these kids are first generation. They have no idea what the college process is like. And their parents have no clue either. So we have a lot of high achieving students here who don't really know what to do when they start looking at colleges. So I know Colonel Macon saw that need to have someone there who could give those students like the full time and attention that they needed. And like what really works about the near peer model is the fact like because we're so close in age, they feel more comfortable asking questions that they might perceive as like silly or like things that they should know, like, oh, like, do I have to pay like my housing deposit by May 1st? Or like, where do I actually go to get a college fee waiver? I'm like, oh, like, do applications actually cost money? So Colonel Macon saw that need, and he was in talks with like Girja in order to like bring this program here to Sampson County.
So when you look at that and you think about what you have seen so far, and of course being from out of state, both of you guys, Texas, New Hampshire, you've had a broad kind of look, and you ended up at Duke. Then you end up in Sampson County, which is obviously a rural county, and you just mentioned we do have a huge immigrant population here, Latino population, Hispanic population. What have you seen here since you've been here? What are some of the things that you've observed, and what is your take on the county? And don't forget, Jessica, I want to talk to you about this opportunity that one of your union students has. Yeah. And by the way, going to Duke's okay, so to go to Duke. So touch on that. But what do you make out of this county from what you've seen? I mean, I always look. I think oftentimes fresh eyes on something gives new vision. So let's talk about that.
Okay. Yeah.
Either one of you.
Yeah, go for it.
I'll start. So I grew up in rural New Hampshire. I grew up on a dirt road. My family lives on a farm. My dad was the first in his family to go to college, and so I really wanted to go back to a rural place after college because I love that sense of community that's in a rural place, and it's a huge aspect of Sampson County as well. Working in the schools, it seems like everyone knows everyone. There are a lot of people who are related, and that's just how it was for me growing up. I was in a very small town and really valued that sense of community and sense of tradition that it brings a love of the land because you're very close to the land on a daily basis. It also brings a lot of driving. We drive a lot in Sampson County, but some of the biggest differences for me is that New Hampshire is not an agriculture-based economy. We do tourism, we do some kind of factory industry, but agriculture, except for small dairy farms, was not really a thing. And so when I came down here, and agriculture is one of the big main features of Sampson's economy, it was incredible. And one of the things that means for our students is that it means there are really jobs here. A lot of young people are leaving New Hampshire because there are not a lot of jobs, and it's not a lot of jobs that people are necessarily interested in, but here we actually have jobs that we can help our students get, whether with a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree, and we see students who have interest in agriculture or have interest in something related to it. And to be in a place where the economy is prevalent and is growing in some areas has been really interesting. And then, yeah.
What did you see, Jessica? I'm interested, and you brought up the subject of the Latino or Hispanic population. And I'll go ahead and put it on the table. The student that you had that just got a pretty nice ride to Duke.
She did.
What's the expectation of the kids you're talking to now? What do they actually expect when you're talking to somebody at Union and they come in and they look in your eyes and you're thinking, well, like you just said, maybe they see I don't know, $7, $8, $10 an hour job. I'm gonna get enough money to buy me a car or a pickup truck, and I'm going to, maybe go to the beach 2 or 3 times a year. What is that expectation like?
Okay, so typically when a student comes into my office, they're always trying to figure out whether or not college is right for them. Some of them are like, okay, they probably didn't do like really well at the very beginning of their high school career. Their GPA isn't that great, their scores aren't that great, and they're just like, well, I can't really get into a 4-year, and if I can, it's going to be really expensive. Maybe the best option is for me just to like drop out or just quit and just like take a job either at the local hog farm or any of the fields, just because that's what they grew up knowing. But more and more it's becoming like the college degree is the new high school degree. So in order to like have a well-paying job in the future, I always like recommend them to like maybe start off at community college or just work their way through that. Just because there isn't necessarily a straight pathway for them to go to college, it doesn't mean that there's completely not an option. So always just like, and some of these kids like really don't understand or don't really know what options are available for them. So sometimes it's just nice like having them in our office and just being like, here are your different options. How can I help you? Like there's always hope for you. So yeah.
So Emily, do you guys also teach as well as do peer counseling? You just do peer counseling. But do you have, I noticed in both of your backgrounds, you know, that you have unbelievable credentials in teaching. I mean, is that something you hope to move to at some point in time? Or is this a juncture, or where are you at with this? And is this something that's going to be an ongoing part of the school system in rural eastern North Carolina or North Carolina as a whole? That's a big question, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you we're going to go to a short break in just a few minutes, and I'll let you know because I don't want to cut you off in the middle. But I think that's where we kind of look at what we have now. Oftentimes, especially with particular grants and a certain amount of funding, this may be a question that some of the school board members, if they're listening, I'm asking them as well, you know, what do we do with this? And do we look at your track record, what you've done, and what's your, and I'll give you about a 15-second thought on that before we go to break.
Honestly, after having worked in the school system, it will be a while before I become a teacher. I really respect the teachers for what they do at Hobton High School. They are terrific. They push their students, they challenge their students, they put in far more hours than they are ever paid for. And it's a very, very demanding job that they don't get a lot of kind of respect or acknowledgement for from kind of the higher ups.
We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back, and I want to continue that discussion when we come back from break. Ladies and gentlemen, stay with us. Call a friend. We'll be back in a moment. We're talking about education, something near and near to you and to your heart.
You're out for an evening on the town. Finally a chance to relax and forget that you left your front door completely unlocked. Fortunately, you just installed a security system from Star Communications. With just your cell phone, you can check on your house, lock it down, light it up, and get back to relaxing.
You forgot to put Buster in his crate.
Unfortunately, we can't help with that. Security and automation from Star Communications. Call today to find out more.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. We Should Know is coming back from our first break. I want to thank you for your comments on the show last week. Chad Thompson was with us, a guest from the North Carolina Justice Academy, location we're very proud of here in Sampson County. We thank Chad and Mark Strickland for making that happen for us, and got a lot of response from that show, and I ask you to keep sending us your emails to weshouldknow@gmail.com, weshouldknow@gmail.com, and I always love for folks to stop me on the street or around town and say, here's my observation, or I understood you to say whatever. Sometimes we can get you an answer, sometimes it takes a little longer, but keep communicating with us. That's the reason we do what we do. We're talking about education today. Particularly, we're talking about getting kids in college, and we're talking with Emily Hadley and Jessica Alvarez, part of the Duke College Advising Corps. As we went off air for our first break, we were talking about this issue of teaching and education. When you have folks come in to sit down to talk to you, what is their aspiration? What are you seeing as it relates to their dreams? And Jessica, I think about, you know, the young lady that is obviously going to Duke from Union. Union is probably one of the areas in the county that's probably least or more sparsely populated than the northern part of the county. But yet, you know, here you found a diamond there that was willing to take hold of that rocket and ride. But not everybody's like that, are they? Either one of them.
So when students come into my office, generally they have some idea of what they're interested in doing, but a lot of times that idea hasn't been fully flushed out in their head. They come in and they say they want to be maybe a dental hygienist, and I push them a little bit and I'm like, why exactly a dental hygienist? And sometimes it's that they really want to work with teeth, but other times it's that they want a stable job that pays good money, which is definitely what I respect. And at the end of the day, I think both of our goals for all of our students is to get them in a position where they are stable, they are able to be self-supporting, they are able to be independent, whether that means at a college level or with future thoughts of college. But a lot of what we do is simply helping give these students information about opportunities that they might not have thought of outside of the state of North Carolina. There's a great simple gift scholarship that some of them haven't learned about before, and they had never imagined going to college outside of North Carolina, but ways that they could open their doors and kind of pursue things, because a lot of the time they just haven't had a lot of life experiences to guide them in a direction or in any direction.
Mm-hmm. Just what do you see as those obstacles that folks that talk to you, and again, I'm so excited about this peer thing, because I think it's so important that you can literally look at somebody's eyes and you're close to that same age. You're not an old guy like me, and everybody sees you as grandpa. So there's you're looking at them, you're saying, I've just been there. I just graduated last year from Duke, one of the major universities in the United States, and I came, in your case, from Texas. How do you relay that story and inspire somebody to say, well, maybe I can do that? And when is it too late?
Okay. So for me, when I was going through the whole college process back in Texas, I had no clue where to even start. I had good grades, I had good scores, but I had really no concept of what the college process was, besides I'm going to go to college. I know it wasn't until I think my sophomore year of high school, I had a really great AP language teacher who would tell us the lowdown of college. It wasn't until sophomore year where I knew the SAT was a time test, and I wouldn't have all day to take it, and how important that was in order to go to some of these bigger and more competitive schools. And especially with the population at Union, I think a third of the student population is Hispanic. So their parents recently immigrated from somewhere, either Mexico or Central America. And again, they have no concept of the American educational system. So at least for me, I had to navigate that myself. My English teacher helped me a lot. He took time out of his day not to only help me with SAT prep, but also looking over my essays. He wrote my letters of recommendation. And it really, if it wasn't for his guidance, I definitely would not have ended up at Duke whatsoever. So when I'm talking to students, I just relay that story. I'm in the same boat as you. I had no clue about anything. I didn't really even know, even the thought of going onto college websites and actually seeing what their requirements are. Because I was just okay, I should be fine. And just being able to communicate that story to my students, and especially my Hispanic students, I'm yeah, I understand for the most part, they're not gonna want you to go out of state. They want you to stay home, but it's okay, there's options, it'll work out. And at least thankfully for me, I'm bilingual, so I can also speak to these parents as well, because a lot of them don't know English and don't really have someone at the high school that they can communicate openly without a translator and just be these are my fears, can you help me dispel them?
One quick observation that I'll throw in as far as the discussion too, and we've talked about this with other guests on this show, with the Hispanic population, the Latino population, very family oriented, dedicated, extremely hardworking folks, and they came here looking that future. When you look at that, Emily, and you think about this transition and opportunities, is there a ceiling on the opportunity for that community of people, or are they offered that same opportunity? I know you want to get into that, Jessica, but I'm going to start with Emily.
One of the biggest ceilings for a lot of them is that they are not either legal permanent residents or U.S. citizens. And for a lot of our students, we work with students who came to the United States when they were 2. They were carried across the border. They did not choose to come to the United States, but they have lived here their whole life. And some of them don't even speak Spanish anymore, and they associate, they believe themselves to be American, but legally they are not. And some of the most difficult conversations I've had in my office was when a student comes in who is either a DACA student or not a legal resident, and I'm the first person to tell them that they cannot receive in-state tuition at a UNC system school. And I had a couple of very high achieving students this year who I told that to, and these are students who could become engineers. These are students who could contribute extremely positively to the North Carolina economy, because these students in particular plan on staying in North Carolina, and I would love to see them contribute. But this huge barrier of, college for them is not going to cost the $15,000 to $20,000 that it might cost someone else. It's going to cost upwards of $35,000 to $40,000 or even more, much in thousands of dollars at an in-state public institution.
Is that an impossibility, Jessica, when you think about it in those numbers, 30, 40,000 or upward for students in the Union District, for example? When you look in their eyes, is that something they just see? It's not going to happen. We don't need to even continue this discussion. How do you get beyond that to where you got with this young lady that's going to Duke? I want to keep referring to that because that's such an exciting story for this county. And I think everybody should be proud of that.
Yeah, so what I recommend to my students is always just apply and just wait for the financial letter before doing any other step. Like sometimes they'll apply and be like, nope, it's going to be too expensive. I don't even know why I applied, but I'm like, no, just look at your financial aid letter. For the most part, some of these universities are pretty generous, but not generous enough where like a student could like actually pay to go for all 4 years without being like severely in debt. So what I recommend to these students is like, again, there's different options. Like community college is very much a viable option. Like it'll be cheaper and then you can transfer to the 4-year and still get the degree. Your degree is not gonna have like, it says like, oh, Campbell University / a little hyphen saying like, and like Sampson Community College. You'll get it from that university. And like I always tell them like, hey, it's not like the worst deal in the world. You're gonna be like probably less in debt than your peers. But also like the most important thing with these students is like actually apply to scholarships. Like we have scholarship coordinators at all 4 high schools. They're doing great jobs advertising all these scholarships. But sometimes the students will like come into the office, they'll maybe pick up the slips of paper, but that's it. And they're like, okay, we'll look at it. And like, okay, I'll do that. But then they don't like pay attention to the deadlines or anything. But like the more they apply to scholarships, the more likely they can like decrease the amount they would have to owe each year. And like college, like even a 4-year would be like pretty much like they could pay for it. So yeah.
And you had a Golden Door Scholar.
Oh yeah, I did have a Golden Door Scholar. And like the Golden Door Scholarship is like designed to help DACA students afford to go to college. So I worked with an individual, nice young lady from Union. She was great. She was a hard worker and definitely deserved that to win that scholarship. And because she won that scholarship, she's able to go to like a 4-year university without any debt. It was going to be a free ride. So it's very exciting. So there are like things designed to like help these students. It's just like sometimes they have to go find it.
Is that those people that have that kind of opportunity, is that kind of like winning the scratch-off ticket or the lottery ticket? Is it highly unusual, or is it something that happens more often than we know?
Okay, so it depends on what the scholarship is. I feel like if you start senior year like with the intention of like winning these scholarships, depending on how your test scores and GPAs are, it might not happen. But you have to be in a certain place by your senior year in order for all these doors to like be open. So like if you have a high GPA, high test score, the higher GPA, the higher test scores, the more doors are gonna open up for you to be able to go to college for free, which is great for your high achieving students. But sometimes you have just students who weren't really well informed or just had a turnaround in their high school career who really are deserving and really hardworking in order to like be able to qualify for these scholarships, but a lot of times they're not, just because of like mistakes in their past, and they're not able to like rectify that in time.
One of the things, Emily, that we hear a lot, and I wanted to discuss this, is that there's kind of 2 avenues of thought, and there's the population of thought that says, well, if you look at education, there's a point in time that we should look at folks early on, literally in high school or even middle school, and say, well, you're just not the kind of person that's going to go to a 4-year college. You're more a trades or a specialty kind of person that's going to, and that's not taken away from the financial gain by any means. Do you agree with that philosophy, or should everybody have that ability to be able to attend a 4-year and have a 4-year academic credential? And I want you to think about that because we're fixing to go to break. That, I think, is one of the key questions. Do we put people in a box based on and give them their expectation, or do we allow them to have an expectation? We'll be back in a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. We're coming up on our second break. We're kind of halfway through the show. Call a friend, stay tuned, be back in 1 moment.
Whether it's video, voice, internet, or cellular, Star Communications connects you to the things you love. It's what we do and have done for over 50 years. Star Communications, your local technology company.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you for being with us today. Thank all these folks at the radio station that mentions us each and every week. The morning show with Grandpa, Nolan Z, and the L Man. I also want to thank Wayne Weeks with the Gospel Hour each and every day that mentions the show. Robert Stroud with the Boogie Shoes Radio Network on Saturdays. Robert has a huge audience and mentions this. Nicole with the Country Store, we thank you for introducing this show each and every week, and also mentioning the guests that we have on We Should Know. Tommy the Fly in the afternoon. Tommy, thank you for what you do and the conversations that we've had in the past. Also want to kind of get all those folks tuned into what we're doing. We're at that point in the conversation. We're talking about education. We're talking about two folks with the Duke College Advising Corps, Emily Hadley. Emily, again, both of you guys are from out of state. You're from New Hampshire, Emily, and Jessica ended up here from Texas. You're at the schools along with a couple of other of your folks and talking to students as kind of equals. When we use the word peer, we kind of think about it on the same eye level. We're communicating, and apparently something's working. You've got one of your students, Jessica, that's going to Duke. A full ride, as you were talking about with that is huge. I wanted to kind of move this to a discussion also with where you're at in as people that are trying to connect students with a bigger picture. Do we find that students oftentimes get put in a mindset, well, my opportunities are going to be limited to a certain scope of work, skill, jobs. I really don't see where a four-year degree in anything is going to benefit me that much. I just want to go to work so I can, I don't know, buy a car or get me a mobile home somewhere or whatever. Tell me about that and the mindset. And do the students that you talk to feel like they've been put there? Is that where they want to be? Have they not opened the door to look out? So.
Well, the philosophy of College Advising Corps, and I believe we both share this philosophy, is that every student should have the choice to go to a four-year institution. We don't expect every single one of our students to make that choice, and not necessarily, it might not be the right choice for every student, but when they are a senior, we hope that every student we work with has the choice to go to a four-year institution. And we help them do that by helping them raise their test scores. We talk to students about their GPAs. We help them with our college applications. Hobton made a really big push. We had 95% of our students submit an application to college, and I believe at least 70% applied to at least one four-year institution. And again, for us, we really seek to aim to put opportunities on the table. So at the end of the day, when a student graduates from, in my case, Hobton or in Union, they don't feel like they're being forced in that one direction. They know that they made a conscious choice, whether that was to go to a four-year college or to join the military or to join the workforce or a community college. That was their choice and not something that they were forced to do. The students we see, though, who come into our office have sometimes never thought about college, especially a four-year college, as a possibility. It can be challenging when a senior comes into my office who's never thought of a four-year college, just because they are pretty late in their career, and in some cases they don't have that test score for a four-year college, or they don't have that GPA. But with the freshmen and the sophomores, we do a lot of underclassmen outreach to really encourage them to start thinking about college, whether 2-year or 4-year or a 2-year transfer program, so that we can start catching them earlier and help them figure out, well, how do I calculate my GPA, or what clubs could I be involved in? So we're really big believers that everyone should at least have the choice.
Jessica, is there a time it's too late? Is it too late for somebody that walks in your door at a certain age? Is that a problematic issue as a senior?
No, I don't think it's ever too late. I feel like you could be in your 60s and still go to college if you really want to. There's so many ways to do that, whether it's just applying to the 4-year or the community college, or even like, I know a lot of my kids are interested in college, but they're like, I can't afford it. Maybe I'll go into the military. And I'm like, hey guys, like there's intersections of those things too. Like you can go to college, maybe do an ROTC program. They'll pay for predominantly all of your college education. You'll still enlist afterwards, be in a higher pay grade. Like there's very much a lot of options for y'all. And
what can the community do? What the community at large? Because folks listening or watching this show may be parents, grandparents, cousins, uncles, family members, and everybody knows somebody that's in that age category. Maybe they're just a freshman in high school now, or maybe they're in middle school. When do they need to start preparing and thinking if they really want to go? They've heard this show, they've heard your commentary, and they said, I think I want to go. Well, say maybe they're a freshman in high school. Is that early enough? Should they start preparing in middle school? And we talked about a bit, we tossed out the word grades, GPA, we talked about SAT in the sense of just the term. How critical is all that?
I'll start with this one. So parental involvement and parental support are one of the largest predictors of how likely a student is to go to college and how likely a student is to graduate from college. Parental involvement is also one of the things that we have the biggest challenges with. It's challenging for us to get parents to be involved with our office. I think the one exception is financial aid. I think our biggest turnout of the year was at financial aid night because parents do care about how much college costs. But I don't know if Jessica would agree with this, but I would love to see parents even more involved in their students' high school career. Parents still need to be coming to PTO nights. They need to be asking their students about their grades. They need to be checking in with their students about, are you getting involved with clubs? And we've spoken a lot about, we do have students who are coming from immigrant backgrounds, or just we have a lot of students who are first-generation college students whose parents didn't go to college. And so they might not know to be checking on these things. But if they are paying attention to this broadcast, we would love for them to just really, it doesn't end at the end of middle school. We know that there's a lot of involvement of parents in middle school, and we want to see that in high school, because if you have a parent who's pushing you and committed to helping you get to college, that it makes our work so much easier.
Is there a disparity in rural areas versus urban areas when you look at the statistical college attendee? Is there far less people that attend college from rural areas versus urban areas?
So I study statistics in college, and I can't remember the exact
statistics. I was noticing that, and I'm thinking you probably got that rolling around.
I can't remember the exact numbers, but there is. And one of the reasons that we believe that it's the biggest, you're most likely to go to college if you're from a suburban area. So just outside of a city, not quite rural, not quite urban. And I believe last time I checked, urban and rural were on par. And by urban, I do mean kind of lower income, inner city. Urban is what they were measuring in this study. But some of the factors that might affect this is that there are a lot of programs like College Advising Corps in urban areas. Some of our colleagues who work in more urban areas have other programs in their schools that are doing similar things to what we do. You don't find that quite as much in a rural area. The biggest people we work with on a daily basis is we have part-time scholarship coordinators who are very helpful, Bambi Dove and Rosemary Simpson. But other than us two, and our guidance counselors, of course, as well, there aren't as big of a support network in rural areas as there are in urban areas.
So Jessica, when I'm thinking about something you said a while ago, how much of this is important for everybody that we're talking to today to look at it from the expectation side and message to kids in high school that there's an expectation not only that they succeed in high school, but that they go to college, that they expand their potential brain power and their brain thrust. Where does that expectation come from, and who should we say today that's listening or watching this show is grandfather, uncle, aunt, mother, father, peer, what you guys do? It just seems to me that expectation is kind of the gateway that sometimes gets closed. I'll let you start with that.
Again, I feel like a lot of the students who grew up in this area kind of just want to follow into the track of what they've seen all their life. So they've seen like their parents or their grandparents like either just working in the fields, working in the hog farm, or like something like that. So their expectation is just kind of like, well, if I don't achieve like the 4-year degree, it's okay. Like most of my peers, most of my family didn't. So I will be okay. They're great people. I'll be great people too. But just like putting that expectation early. I think the biggest thing is like in middle school, even like freshman year, it's just like to tell the students what is necessary for college, like what colleges look for, like the fact that what is a GPA, what are tests, and like also like how important it is not only to like be in clubs and like sports and things of that nature, but also just to form relationship with their teachers, not only for in the future to like help them like write letters of recommendation, but also like to have other guides and like have people like they can ask questions to, because like for the most part, these students, like the person that they're going to interact with who is a college graduate is their teachers. Mm-hmm. So that would be like a great resource to do. But like that expectation is in the schools, but I don't think it's necessarily encouraged in the way it needs to be.
So Emily, should the question change, and the question being more, what college are you going to go to, rather than are you going to college? Should we change the structure of the question to get a different answer?
Yes and no. I think when we talk to students about college, we talk about two things. We talk about match and we talk about fit. And match being, are you academically matched for the college? Mm-hmm. Do you have the GPAs and test scores to go here? And fit is this college going to be a supportive environment for you? We talk about, do they have the major you want? What does it look like demographically? Is it rural? Is it urban? Mm-hmm. But part of that fit question is college right for you right now? And so, like I said, we want college to be a choice for everyone, but some of our students will choose the military because the military is a good fit for them, or will choose workforce. And so I believe what college is the right question, but maybe not necessarily for right after senior year, because we do talk to our students, kind of like Jessica mentioned earlier, for students going into the military, after they complete their service in 4 or 6 years, they will have their GI Bill. We talk to them about what they can do with that GI Bill. Or for our students who choose to go, start on a hog farm, Murphy Brown has scholarships at Sampson for students who want to get a degree and then earn more money. And so at the end of the day, it is what college is it. Sometimes it's not immediately after high school, but we show them that
we're going to take
college
a break.
Is important.
We'll be back in a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Stay with us. We're talking about college education and your children.
What? How can that be? No way someone broke in and stole my TV. Unless I want to install steel bars, I'll call the experts in security. Star Communications is the one that I can trust to get the job done.
Yeah, the only thing worse than that is not feeling safe in your own home or business.
Call Star Communications now. We're your local security experts, from alarms and monitoring to automation and personal protection.
Word.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're coming up on the last segment of We Should Know. Each and every Tuesday, we thank you for being with us. We thank you for your comments to weshouldknow.edu@gmail.com. We're talking about education today, and as could be said in Sampson County, we're talking about learning. So, Emily Hadley, Duke Advising Corps, Jessica Alvarez, Duke College Advising Corps, both here in the county, along with 2 of your other associates, 4, one at each high school in this county. Half the counties in the state have folks like you to talk to high school students kind of on their age level. Graduated from Duke, both of you last year, exemplary degrees in various areas. Let's talk about education on this last piece and kind of a steering path. Education has always been available. I know my career with community college, one of the areas I was in at one time and tried to lead was this thing of lifelong learning. You're always learning something. This show I've been doing now close to 6 years, and I'm always learning something every week when I have guests like you on. What do we need to do now when we look at folks that are thinking about education? We think about all those things. Did they need to know what they would like to major in. How much does ethnicity, religion, what about funding, privately, publicly funded? I just ran some, again, your background is with statistics. When you look at a lot of the statistics, there is an unbelievable amount of money out there. I mean, just go to Google, folks. It's amazing. Help us kind of narrow that a little bit and get folks to understand, because I think part of your job too is creating that pathway.
One of the biggest things that we want to help with our students is, again, we are bearers of information. And so, like you said, there is so much money available for college that our students do not know about. And so our job, along with our scholarship coordinators, they do a lot of the heavy lifting on this work, is finding these scholarships, making them in an accessible format for students. When we go and we put the scholarship application in the student's hand, we know that that student has seen that scholarship application and can fill that out, because some of our students don't have access to internet at home. Some of them just simply have not learned how to research for scholarships. And so that's part of our job too, is to teach them where can you go to learn more about scholarships. But in terms of students preparing for these scholarships, GPA is very important. We see students who did very poorly their freshman year, and it comes back to bite them because someone at some point told them their freshman year didn't matter. It does matter.
It's cumulative over time.
It's cumulative over time, yeah. And so, if a student comes with a 4.0 their freshman year, they're at a great start. But if a student's at a 1.5 after freshman year, they're in a lot of trouble. And then SAT and ACT scores. Test prep is something that's been a huge focus for this county and is honestly a whole school effort. I don't think either of us like the reliance on testing. I don't know if you know this, but the standardized tests are highly correlated with income. So you are predicted to have a much higher score simply because of your family's income and all the benefits or lack thereof from your past 18 years. And so we don't love test scores, but colleges use them. And so we made a whole school effort. And I think you had a boot camp day. We had a whole 8 weeks of test prep to prepare our students. And a lot of these scholarships have a certain test score you need to have. And it's getting our students above that cutoff.
Jessica, if we could get the push from parents and community behind what you guys are doing and getting folks lined up, ready to go, getting those GPAs 3.8 and above, that we get behind football and soccer, what would happen? What do you think the difference would be?
Oh, it's just going to be like a drastic shift in culture.
Yeah.
We'll have actually like the media center filled up for like financial aid night.
Absolutely.
But yeah, like
I'm trying to put it in perspective because we do have parents that are extremely interested. You see them on Friday Night Football or on soccer fields, but it's not that same amount of energy necessary to get those students across that finish line.
Yeah, and definitely. And the programs that we put on after school are not just there for the students, they're there for the parents to help the student at home navigate the college process. So while it is great that parents go out and support their kids in the for basketball games, for football games, like pretty much those students, for the most part, their careers in those sports are going to be limited to high school. So I feel like parents need to come to these events, like know what their options are for their students, how to help their students in order to like navigate this college process, because like the college process is going to help them pass high school. It's going to help them for their future and like what they're going to do career-wise. Yeah.
Do we find ourselves oftentimes in labeling as a student, and I'm trying to speak now to students, do students label themselves, this is what I am or this is what I'll be, and we talked about sports, I'm going to make my big effort with sports, and there's a very small, but it is a very small percentage statistically that really make it big in sports. So if you have that, and that's basically where their expectation is, I label myself that, and academically, is it really recognized as being the, kind of the machismo thing, or is there something else? How do we change that? I mean, because, nobody really wants to be, I guess, called a nerd, but there's a lot of nerds making billions of dollars, and I'm thinking that'd be pretty nice too. So.
And I think, speaking specifically to that athlete, we do have some students at Hobson who are interested in being athletes in college, and some who might even qualify, but they didn't ever realize that there's an academic component to it. If you have a below a 2.3, you cannot play at an NCAA Division I level. And NCAA Division I or Division II are the places that give the scholarships. If you have below a 3.0, you need to have high test scores to make up for your lower GPA. And so these athletes walk into my office, and they're very talented athletes, but someone at some point did not mention to them that their academics matter just as much to these coaches as their sports do. And so we do see students, or at least I see students, who have labeled themselves as an athlete or as an arts person, which is great, and I love them exploring those sides of them. But at the same time, at the end of the day, you are at high school to get a high school degree, and in college, you are there to get a college degree, and academics need to be a central part of your life, even with athletics, even with arts. Academics are core, and just really reinforcing that from, we love it when we have teachers and coaches and school principals who are on our side and are right there with us asking the kids, have you gotten that grade up yet? Have you finished that project yet? It is a whole school effort to remind students that they are not a single faceted person. Like they are very much multifaceted and need to.
Jessica, it's been said the four-year college degree today is the new high school diploma for tomorrow. True, false?
It's true. Just more and more when you're applying to jobs. I know Emily and I, post-college, we're applying to jobs, and a lot of them, in our fields, we're saying, we prefer master degrees. And it's just okay, I got my college degree, I was promised all these opportunities, but now it's just I'm not 100% qualified for it. So there's another step. And I can't imagine just coming straight out of high school and what that degree can earn you, basically. So,
especially over time. I mean, from a statistical point of view, there's a significant difference.
$500,000 is what a bachelor's degree is on average worth in your lifetime. You will make $500,000 more than someone who has just a high school
degree. And the numbers prove that.
Yes, and the numbers prove that. And it's even more with a master's degree, and even more with a doctorate degree. Yeah, education pays. And I think you mentioned earlier, our students do think a lot in the short term. They want that car. They want that new thing at the store. They're not thinking about, I tell my students all the time, my brain is probably going to be the most expensive object I ever own. Duke education, there's $260,000 that someone invested in my brain. First of all, keep your brain safe. Don't do, things to it. But
stupid
also,
stuff,
this is my investment. This is what I use in my life, and it's worth money.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think the other thing too is the contribution to society as a whole. It's that idea that there's just so many opportunities. When you guys talk with students, again as a peer basis, your connection and then your reverse connection back to that school counselor, how is that fitting? Have you been seen as a plus or minus by the counselors? Are they now better understanding what your role is in that high school?
I would definitely consider it, or I don't want to speak for them, but I think they see us as a plus, because again, Emily mentioned earlier, but we only have one guidance counselor in our schools, and at least at Union it's 550 students. So Taylor DeLeon, who's the guidance counselor at Union, she not only has to deal with scheduling and just that aspect, she has to focus on the emotional well-being of all these students, which is a lot, 550 students. So I feel we've been a benefit. Sometimes I know students will go ask her for ACT fee waivers and things like that, or what to do for college, and sometimes she'll just bring them to my office and be here's this nice gentleman, help him. And then she can do other things that will benefit the school more, while I'm more focusing on the small aspect that shouldn't be taking up her day.
Absolutely. And I want to quickly give a shout out to Steve Troxler, and the Commissioner of Agriculture, who's been a regular guest on this show. He's quick to let everybody know that agriculture is an $80+ billion industry in North Carolina, which you alluded to early on, Emily, and there's some wonderful jobs out there. And some of those jobs, to move forward and to reach the total capacity financially, do require academic credentials as well. Community colleges offer certain level of degrees that can be transferred to universities. So basically what I hear you saying is that pathway and opening that door so you can see the pathway and focusing on that pathway is fundamental and critical. Okay, I'm going to give you about 15 seconds wrap up, and I'll start with you, and we'll go to Jessica.
Sure. I have loved being in Sampson County. I think both of us have. It's definitely a really strong community that's very diverse and changing and is starting to adapt. I mentioned earlier that North Carolina is currently facing a lot of legislative challenges, and I want more people like us to be able to come and teach in Sampson schools, be college advisors, but there need to be some pretty big changes.
Jessica.
I adore Union High School. I love working with the Hispanic population specifically. There's like 1/3 of the Hispanic, or 1/3 of the population is Hispanic, but there's only 3 staff members that know any sort of Spanish. So like one of the biggest pushes I would see for like Sampson in order to help students with college is to have translators.
I want to thank you both for being with us, and we could continue discussion on
Yeah.
and on. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us today. We look forward to seeing you again next week on the radio, and may God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host J.W. Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.